In 1920, the 18th Amendment went into effect, banning the manufacture, sale, and distribution of intoxicating liquors. The Prohibition era had begun. It was the result of a long, hard-fought campaign by the Dries, as the Anti-Saloon League, the Women's Christian Temperance Union, and other Prohibition advocates were known. They considered alcohol to be America's national curse, and believed a federal ban would help lower crime rates, strengthen families, and generally improve the national character. But the noble experiment, as it came to be known, would last little more than a decade. What went wrong? For one thing, Prohibition turned out to be bad for the economy. Thousands of jobs were eliminated when breweries, distilleries, and saloons were shut down. Despite grand expectations that banning alcohol would boost sales of other goods and entertainment, the result was the opposite. Restaurants couldn't make enough money without liquor sales, and theater revenues actually declined. The federal government lost valuable excise tax revenue to the tune of some $11 billion. At the same time, it spent more than $300 million to enforce the ban. And we bet you didn't know that it was never actually illegal to drink during Prohibition. The 18th Amendment bans manufacture, sale, and distribution of alcohol, not its consumption. People certainly didn't stop drinking, but they did start buying more illegal liquor. Bootleg alcohol was often of lesser quality and sometimes even dangerous. On average, 1,000 Americans died every year during Prohibition from the effects of drinking tainted liquor. And what about the idea that banning alcohol would cut down on crime? In fact, crime rates actually rose during Prohibition. In addition to gangsters like Al Capone, who made around $60 million annually from his bootleg operations, the illegal alcohol trade made criminals out of millions of formerly law-abiding Americans, including police officers or Prohibition agents tempted by lucrative bribes. By the end of the 1920s, the majority of Americans were losing patience with Prohibition. Franklin D. Roosevelt won the presidency in 1932 with a platform that pledged to end it. In 1933, the 21st Amendment repealed the ban on alcohol. It was the first time in history that a constitutional amendment had ever been repealed. Some say FDR toasted the end of Prohibition with his favorite drink, a dirty martini. A few states remained dry after the repeal, but by 1966, all of them had abandoned Prohibition, and America raised its glass to the end of the noble experiment.
Why did the United States have a prohibition movement to enact prohibition? We offer some generalizations and then answer that question. Prohibition in the United States was a measure designed to reduce drinking by eliminating the businesses that formatted, distributed, and sold alcoholic beverages. The 18th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution took away licenses to the businesses from brewers, distillers, and vintners, and wholesale and retail sellers of alcoholic beverages. The leader of prohibition movements were alarmed at a drinking behavior of America, and they were concerned that there was a culture of drinking among all and some sectors of the population. With the continuing immigration from Europe was spreading, the prohibition movement strength grew, especially after the formation of the Anti-Saloon League in 1893. The league and the organization that supported the prohibition, such as the Women's Christian Temperance Union, soon began to succeed the local prohibition laws. Eventually, the prohibition campaign was a national effort. During this time, the brewing industry was the most prosperous of beverages alcoholic industry. Because of the competitive nature of brewing, the nature entired the retail businesses. America called retail business selling beer and whiskey by the glass saloon. To expand the sale of beer, brewers expanded the number of saloon portfolio. It was not uncommon to find one saloon for every 100 or 200 Americans, including those who did not drink hard pressed the earned profit saloon keepers sometimes introduced, such as gambling prohibition, into their establishments in an attempt to earn profits. Many Americans considered saloon offensively noxious industries. The Prohibition leaders believed that one license to businesses was removed from the liquor traffic, the churches and reform organizations would enjoy an opportunity to persuade Americans to give up. This opportunity would occur unchallenged by the drinking business or the liquor traffic. In those interests, it was to urge more Americans to drink and to drink more alcoholic beverages. The saloons would disappear from the landscape. The saloon keepers no longer allowed to encourage people, including children, to drink alcoholic beverages. Some of the Prohibition leaders looked forward to educational campaign that would greatly expand once the drink business became illegal, and would eventually, in about 30 years, lead to a sober nation. Other Prohibition leaders looked forward to vigorous enforcement of Prohibition in order to eliminate supplies of alcoholic beverages. After the 1920s, neither group of leaders was especially successful. The indicators never received the support of campaign that they dreamed about, and the law enforcement were never able to proceed. Government officials, the amount of a wholehearted enforcement campaign against illegal suppliers of alcoholic beverages. The best evidence available to historians showing that the beverages of alcohol declined dramatically under Prohibition in the early 1920s. Consumption of the beverages alcohol was about 30% of the pre-Prohibition levels. Consumption grew somewhat in the best evidence available to historians to show that consumption of alcoholic beverages declined dramatically under Prohibition. In the early 1920s, consumptions of as illegal supplies of liquor increased as a new generation of Americans disregarded the law, rejected the attitude, self-sacrifice that was part of the bedrock of the Prohibition movement. Nevertheless, it was a long time